State arrests a church elder alleged to be involved in illegal mining activities at Achimmoso in the Ashanti region.
Also, Ghana Federation of Labour to boycott this year's Mayday celebrations of allegations of being sidelined by the TEWU.
Also coming up this afternoon, cocoa farmers in the Kwabre East Municipality and Dumakwa in the Ashanti region protest the destruction of farms to pave way for ongoing Kumasi Outer Ring Road construction. Hello there, it's News Central here on TV3. I'm Kemeni Amano.
And I am Mawena Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. Let's begin this afternoon for you on the Labour front because the National Federation of Labour says it will not be a part of this year's Mayday celebration. The Mayday celebration, the Federation says, follows unresolved concerns about inclusiveness and shared ownership of the annual workers' event. Mayday, which is set for the 1st of May each year, is observed globally to honor the struggles of workers for better conditions, including the historic campaign for the 8-hour working day, and serves as a platform for labor advocacy and solidarity. But according to the Federation of Labour, the arrangement for this year's celebration has failed to reflect the collective voice of all organized labor groups rather than be dominated by a single body. According to the Federation, an earlier consensus reached at a meeting over the delivery of speeches was rejected by the TEWU, collapsing consensus across the Labour front. Let's take you to the phone lines right now and speak to Kenneth Kumsin. He's the Deputy Secretary General of the National Federation of Labour. He's joined us right now for a bit more in terms of details. Good afternoon to you, sir. Delivery of speeches. Is that a justifiable enough reason to have you abandon celebration of workers in the country?
Okay, well, thank you very much for this opportunity. It's important to set the record straight. It is not about the reading of speeches. It's not about the appearance at the forum. It's about the honoring the principles, the fundamental principles that undergird the holding of Maydays across the world. If you may permit me, my brother, Mayday traces its root to 1886. where workers in a factory protested massively against unregulated working hours. That protest was met with severe brutality by businesses. Now, a matter that took place in an enterprise escalated into a mass protest across the United States in 1886. It was not a center. It was not a center or a union. It was a mass workers' protest and gathering. That is the definition of inclusivity. That is the definition of working collectively to advance the welfare of Ghanaian workers.
And you say that inclusivity has been absent in all of the conversations going into tomorrow.
So there's a procedure that is always adopted in the determination of what goes into the program, okay? First of all, there's what we call the planning committee that includes officers of the various unions of organized labor. Now, that committee is chaired by the TEWU Deputy Secretary General. Now, when the committee concluded its work, the program was presented to leadership of organized labor. We took a forensic look, a critical look at the program, and we realized that even though they had assembled officers from different unions, the program did not reflect the status of organized labor. It was predominantly a TEWU program. And obviously, when you see such a thing, it questions the very committee that appears to suggest an inclusive collective committee, because it is just like a form against the substance. So we have the form, but the substance was devoid of anything that looks like collectivism. So we said, listen, let's meet and then look at the program so that it reflects the collective power and force of organized labor. This is where the problem is. We invited the TEWU leadership to the Ghana Employees Association on the 16th of April. They never showed up at the meeting. We established contact with the Secretary General, the Deputy. They never showed up. It was the GFL and Forum leadership that met there. And because we felt that, look, this is a matter we need to resolve, we sent them a resolution stating the reasons for which we think that they are absent create a very big problem in terms of working together as organized labor. They responded to the letter on the 21st of April and said to us that their steering committee have already taken a decision. Obviously, that kind of response undermines the very reason for which organized labor exists. And let me be very frank with you. This is a legal matter. And GFL has taken notes, and we are going to take legal action. Because see, organized labor is not TEWU. There are about 180 unions in this country. TEWU only organizes 19 of them. When you go to places like the United Kingdom, the US, and several other jurisdictions, the TEWU commands the public service, the private sector, and all the unions are under them. So they can flaunt that weight and power.
Right.
In this country.
So this concern as to a disregard, is it shared by other labor groups in the country ahead of Mayday celebration? Because it's coming off as though it's just a Federation of Labor which is raising this concern, and the others are very much okay with the state of affairs going into tomorrow. Is this concern shared across?
Yes, because on the 16th, on the 22nd of April, the forum, which is made up of the teachers, the nurses, the doctors, and all the public sector institutions and DFL, signed a letter and unequivocally stated our position that based on the conduct and the behavior of the TEWU, we are not able to participate in this Mayday. Because see,
so there won't be teachers. There won't be teachers as well during this Mayday celebration. There won't be nurses as well. Is that the understanding we're getting from what you're telling us?
Well, I am not able to say that emphatically. At the 22nd of April, the position of these two labor centers was that we are not at the level of leadership. So membership, people have planned ahead of time. If they want to attend this workers' forum, that's fine. But as far as leadership is concerned, it's a protest. It's a statement, and not just a statement. We are taking other legal decisions. Other we are consulting with our lawyers. We are going to take legal action to make sure that there is a proper interpretation twist to the name organized labor in the act.
Right.
And that the conduct of organized labor truly reflects the sentiments, the views of Ghanaian workers across the country. So I am not able to say verbatim that yes, they are going to be there or not. As far as GFL is concerned, we have indicated unequivocally, clearly, succinctly, our position that we are not going to be there.
So all of your members will not be present tomorrow during the Mayday celebration?
So the communication was in respect of the fact that those who have already made plans to be there, we will not stop them. But those who have not already put themselves in readiness to attend, they have the right to stay off. But let me also tell you, on Friday we are holding a press conference in Accra, okay, on the Mayday Ghana Federation of Labor, together with our brothers in the mining sector. We are holding a massive press conference to put up a statement in respect of the issues that confront the mining sector as a way of honoring the event Mayday. Because as I told you, Mayday is about workers' rights.
Absolutely.
Mayday is about ensuring that The
Right.
plight of the workers are addressed, and we think that we can use that occasion to address that.
Right. I appreciate you speaking to us, Mr. Kumsin. That's Kenneth Kumsin, is the Deputy Secretary General of the National Federation of Labour, speaking to us this afternoon. We can bring you some other stories right now.
Let's talk about power now, because residents across Accra have endured weeks of intermittent power outages, disrupting homes, businesses, and their daily lives. But while many communities struggle to keep the lights on, some critical public institutions appear to be shielded. Checks from some health facilities in Accra reveal full operation, which the Electricity Company of Ghana says the uninterrupted power supply to these hospitals is due to special arrangements. Evelyn Tima reports.
For weeks now, darkness has become an unwelcome routine in several parts of Accra. From households to small businesses, residents say the unpredictable power cuts are taking a toll, spoiling food items, halting productivity, and increasing the cost of living. But a visit to a number of public health facilities tells a different story. Lights are on, machines are running, and services continue uninterrupted. Hospital authorities who spoke off camera say in situations where power goes off for a while, it is an internal problem and not from ECG. This serves as a reminder that in critical environments like hospitals, few seconds without power can mean the difference between life and death. Officials at the Electricity Company of Ghana say this is by design. According to the General Manager for External Communications at ECG, Dr. Charles Ni Ayiku, many health facilities are connected to dedicated power lines to ensure constant electricity supply.
If you find any of those going off, then it could be a technical challenge, and that we come in immediately to fix. Yes, we understand the sensitive nature of the operations, so we are very careful about how we manage operation in these sensitive areas. Not just the hospitals, but other critical installations. No, they are on dedicated lines or sensitive feeders, so we don't touch them. What they can do is that they can always get in touch with the district office where they operate, so that we do the assessment and then make sure that we separate their lines, or if it means that there's going to be a new transformer or anything at all, we'll do the assessment and then we guide them accordingly.
He insisted that the move is aimed at protecting essential services, particularly for surgeries, neonatal care and emergency response. While most hospitals in Accra remain lit and operational, many communities continue to grapple with uncertainty, and residents are left hoping for a more reliable power supply in the weeks ahead. Well, authorities say efforts are underway to address the outages, although no clear timeline has been given for full restoration. Until then, the contrast between darkened neighborhoods and fully powered hospitals remains stark. Evelyn Tinkma, TV3 News, Accra.
Meanwhile, power supply is expected to improve following the restoration of key generation units at the Akosombo Dam. But are consumers actually feeling the difference? Christabel Success Trevor visited some areas to find out.
I'm here at Caprice today, where residents have been dealing with unstable power supply over the recent weeks. Now, with authorities saying that this particular situation should improve following repairs of the 4-generation power units at Akosombo, we are here to find out, are people actually experiencing any difference? Come, let's find out.
It's still the same. Maybe it will take a time before it will have effects on us as citizens. So let's give the government some time. It happens like that, then it brings interaction into the production.
It's true that this thing has come, but the government, I know that it can solve the problem. But my place, right now we see some improvement on it.
It's bad. I'm just praying to the government that he has said it, but it's not yet seeing it, so you have to work on it. People cold stores and marketplace, people who used to store in the cold store, they are finding it so difficult.
We have no problem here as at now. We don't know maybe after, but as at now, what we're experiencing from the last is the same thing.
For small business owners, consistency matters more than promises.
It's very poor when you're going to do your hair at the salon and they just take the light off. It sounds some way, because now we doesn't have a new clippers that we can say even light off, we can use it. Solar, something that will help us with the barbers or the business, the normal entrepreneur, is good, because the solar, if the sun is on, we can resolve more power. So if the sun go down, we can use the solar, not the lights.
They are preferring a very stable and reliable power supply. And until that consistency is achieved, many consumers say the power situation is not yet fully resolved. Christabel Success Trevor, TV3 News, Caprice.
We'll stay on related story. Now, ECG has restored electricity supply to the Afram Plains after a major outage triggered by damage to a marine cable in the early hours of Monday. Speaking in an interview, General Manager for External Communications at ECG, Dr. Charles Nyayiku, explained that the fault occurred about 400 meters into the River Afram, cutting off power to the entire Donkokrom district. He indicates that immediately after the incident, the Eastern Regional Maintenance Team mobilized to the site to conduct an assessment. Now, he also highlights the intervention of the District Chief Executive for Afram Plains South, Moses Tangbe, who played a pivotal role in resolving the challenge. He emphasized that the coordinated effort and ingenuity of the team helped avert what could have been a prolonged outage across Afram Plains. ECG also expressed its appreciation to all who contributed to the restoration efforts and extended an apology to its cherished customers and the general public for the inconvenience caused. President John Dramani Mahama is this afternoon inspecting grid transmission stations in Akosombo after fire knocked off some 1,000 megawatts of power off the national grid. Engineers have worked to install the units of the Akosombo hydro plant that supplies electricity to Gridco Point. Government, despite the outages, has assured of continued efforts in restoring power to most parts of the country plunged into darkness. The president, after receiving briefings, is expected to make some directives on the current ongoing outages. We'll bring you more details on this visit by the president in subsequent broadcasts.
Now, about 4,500 security personnel and watchmen under the Teachers and Educational Workers Union, TEWU, say they are preparing to take action over unpaid overtime allowance for 14 years. Union members warn that they will begin series of protests starting next week if government fails to act. The General Secretary of the union, King James Azotiba, spoke exclusively to our Labour Affairs correspondent, Daniel Opoku, in Accra.
Members of the union are a vital part of the country's senior high schools, working behind the scenes as janitors, laundry operators, administrative staff, and accounts officers, as well as cooks. Nationwide, the union represents more than 36,000 workers. But for over a decade, a specific group, the security personnel, said they have been unfairly treated, with their overtime allowances left unpaid. According to the General Secretary, King James Azotiba, the affected members feel neglected and disrespected and are not ready to make their voices heard.
You'll be surprised that provides security day and night across the various second cycle institutions. All our senior high schools, the regional offices, the district offices, the headquarters, they are just about 4,500 security men, below 5,000. And they provide security 24/7. And the public and the Saturday weekend duties they are supposed to be paid overtime of 55% of their basic salary. It's not being paid.
He reveals that multiple appeals have been made to key state institutions, including the Ministry of Finance, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, and the National Labour Commission, but all efforts, he says, have yielded no results.
We've written several letters to the Director General. We are aware he has also written several letters to the Minister of Finance through the Minister of Education. And we don't know why the Minister of Finance that give approval for this condition of service to be signed, they are denying them from being paid. They are supposed to be paid from the various institutions or from the Ghana Education Service Director General's office. But they don't have that money in their budget.
The union is also raising red flags over delays in implementing its collective agreement, warning that the situation could escalate further.
Still on the labor front, General Secretary of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, Morgan Ayawene, has called for urgent reforms to Ghana's economic systems, warning that the sacrifices of workers are yet to translate into meaningful improvements in their living conditions. To commemorate this year's Mayday message to workers across the country, Ayawene acknowledged the resilience of the Ghanaian workforce, but questioned why years of hard work have not yielded the expected economic benefits.
While commending government's effort to stabilize the economy, he stressed that macroeconomic gains must go beyond statistics and reflect in the daily lives of ordinary workers. Morgan Ayawene also urged authorities to prioritize job creation and adopt more sustainable employment strategies. Despite the challenges, the ICU boss reaffirmed the commitment of workers to national development. He also addressed concerns about labor practices in the country, cautioning employers against exploiting workers through casualization and outsourcing. At the same time, he expressed appreciation to employers who have shown understanding and worked collaboratively with labor unions to ease the burden on workers. As Ghana marks International Workers' Day, Morgan Ayawene encouraged workers not to lose hope despite current economic hardships.
Now, the Ghana Education Service has warned against examination malpractice ahead of this year's West African Senior School Certificate Examination, WASI, and the Basic Education Certificate Examination, BEC. Speaking at a stakeholders meeting, the Greater Accra Regional Director of Education, Hajia Katumi Natagma, called for a collective fight against cheating in the upcoming exams.
May 4 marks the beginning of this year's West African Senior School Certificate Examination, WASI, for school candidates across participating countries. The Basic Education Certificate Examination, BEC, also begins on May 4, 2026. Over the years, examination malpractice has plagued many centers, with some students having their result cancelled. According to a report by Africa Education Watch, final malpractice data from the 2025 WASI point to an increase from 10% in 2024 to 14.8% in 2025, with 99.7% of the cases arising from examination room collusion, leading to similar or identical scripts being detected during the marking process. According to Africa Education Watch, no school head or invigilator has been sanctioned, a situation that could embolden further malpractice. At a high-level meeting held at Achimota Senior High School ahead of this year's exams, authorities issued a strong warning over the growing concern. The Greater Accra Regional Director of Education described the situation as one of the greatest threats to academic integrity. She emphasized that the fight against malpractice is a shared responsibility, calling on parents, teachers and security agencies to play their roles.
Examination malpractice cannot be left to the Ghana Education Service or WAEC alone. It is a shared responsibility requiring the active involvement of every stakeholder. Parents must instill honesty, discipline, and hard work in their children rather than placing undue pressure on them to succeed at all costs.
The Ghana Education Service says sensitization programs for WASI candidates are already underway, adding that strict sanctions will be enforced without fear or favor.
You're live here or News Central on TV3. We're going for a very fast break here on the bulletin. When we return, we have a bit more in terms of stories for you, and so please do stay tuned in.
Welcome back. It's still News Central here on TV3. Now, in other news this afternoon, as part of efforts to safeguard national security and improve relations with the media, the National Security Secretariat has engaged journalists and security heads to address key challenges. Senior officials from the Ghana Armed Forces, Police and Fire Service raised concerns about threats posed by some media publications.
Since its creation, Ghana's national security apparatus has been seen by many civilians as a mysterious setup that operates in the shadows. Public conversations about national security often arise when it undertakes arrests or swoops. At a media engagement aimed at demystifying the role of national security and fostering a good relationship with the public, the National Security Council Secretariat brought together heads of the security agencies to find solutions to challenges the institution face with the media.
In the past, national security meant tanks, borders, and checkpoints. But today, a single manipulated video on TikTok, X, or Facebook can cause much more damage to our stability than a physical attack. A fake story on WhatsApp can set two communities, religions, tribes, and gangs against each other faster than any weapon. A careless headline or a false narrative on radio can undo months of peace building. History reminds us of the danger and existential threat of bigotry, of religious and ethnic animosity, and misinformation to every society when we recount the Holocaust and the Armenia, Rwanda, and Bosnia genocides.
President of the Ghana Journalists Association noted that calls for professionalism should cut across all professions.
Most of the professional, known journalists we are talking about, none of them went through GIG. Most of them were trained. The love Kojo, Paul Krumah, Amsifaka, and all the rest, they were trained journalists. So what I'm trying to say is that you don't need to only go through GIG to be able to this work. You can be trained on the job and still do better. But as we all know, if you be a mensa, just as I was going to tell my sister that there are unprofessional, uncultured, and even unlearned, uneducated security officers who cannot even construct even one sentence. They don't even know their left or right, they don't even know what they're about. Yes, and we wonder how these people even get themselves into the security agencies. So what we are saying is that, so all these people are there, and what they do is to wreak havoc.
Most of the media organizations now work with cheap labor. And when I say cheap labor, they are not recruiting trained professionals. Now they are just picking on anybody at all who is able to speak English or probably speak Cree properly. And it's just posting them to us. Now remember that you are dealing with trained professional, not just PROs, but security PROs.
As a soldier, as a police, as a media practitioner, whenever you are doing anything, ask yourself, what will be the impact of what I'm doing? And let me talk about the helicopter crash. Our ethics as journalists bars us from showing or announcing that people have passed on without first communicating with their families. But we also saw what happened. Charred bodies of our ministers and our soldiers. And they were in no mean media houses than our leading media houses, the ones that we thought would set the good example. And nothing came out from GJA condemning it.
After stakeholders expressed concerns about the role of the media and vice versa, all parties agreed to increase collaboration to fight misinformation and improve crisis management to safeguard the peace and security of the country.
I would like to propose 4 practical steps we can consider implementing immediately. 1, a verification channel that works. Number 2, a crisis communication protocol. 3, a commitment to diligence from both sides.
From security, let's take you to local governance, because the Ministry of Local Government has issued a 1-week ultimatum to metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives across the Greater Accra region to remove all unauthorized billboards. The directive is part of renewed efforts to restore order, improve safety and enhance the city's visual appeal.
The skyline of Accra has been dominated by a mist of towering billboards, some approved, many not. But authorities say that the era of unchecked advertising structures may be finally coming to an end. During an inspection tour, Deputy Minister of Local Government, Religious Affairs and Chieftaincy, Rita Na-Odoli-Suwa, raised concerns about the rapid spread of unregulated billboards, warning that beyond the visual clutter, some of these structures pose real dangers to residents.
When we look around, the place is so cluttered, and it does not speak well of us as a nation, as a ministry, as districts. And so we've engaged the MMDCs, and they've assured us that they are going to declutter the entire space. Because when you come to this particular area, it's between Lada de Kotopon and Ayawaso West. And our officers are here, the planning officers are here. And so I believe the planning officers are also seeing what we are seeing. When we are looking at the urban developments, these are all areas we need to look at.
From unstable installations to obscured views along major roads, officials say the risks are growing, especially during heavy rains and strong winds. The directive has, however, been welcomed by industry players. The executive director of the Advertising Association of Ghana, Isaac Kujo, says the move is both necessary and overdue.
It is long overdue, actually. We have been looking for that kind of political will for any government to be able to take the bull by the horn to sanitize the environment. There are others that have entered into the fray that are not being regulated or are not involved in self-regulation. And so we want this to be done, demolition should be done, so that we sanitize the environment, and then there will be proper regulation. And I'm believing that by the time we cross over to next year, this whole place will be sanitized and we'll have a good, beautiful sky space.
While he commends the government for engaging stakeholders, he's also urging strict enforcement to ensure the exercise does not fade like previous attempts. The billboard removal exercise is part of a broader urban renewal push, one aimed at transforming Accra into a cleaner, safer and more organized city capable of competing on the global stage.
Now, government is intensifying efforts to protect adolescent girls against cervical cancer through HPV vaccination. A high-level monitoring exercise is taking place in the Lejokuku municipality, where officials of the health service are observing an ongoing vaccination targeting girls aged 9 to 14 in selected schools as part of the 2026 Africa Vaccination Week, a continent-wide initiative aimed at promoting the life-saving benefits of vaccines and improving immunization coverage. Let's get to the phone lines now and engage Program Manager for the expanded program on immunization at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Selom Kochuati. Doc, good afternoon. I appreciate your time. What is the main objective of this year's Vaccination Week drive? How many girls are you hoping to reach?
Well, thank you very much to you and your viewers for this time. So this year's vaccination drive is under the theme "For Every Generation, Vaccines Work." And this is a very apt theme for the year for us, because this year we were looking at using the Africa Vaccination Week to put up some more public knowledge and activity around HPV vaccination, which we started off last year. So our main target for this time is to try and reach out to as many of the girls as we were able to miss out last year. Last year, from our target, we missed out about 320,000 girls. So we are using this today's activity to put up some more public, let's say, noise around it, and also to get our districts to move into the community and schools to try and reach the girls we left out last year. Thank you.
Service addressing concerns and fears around safety among parents and guardians.
I think that this is even a good time for our parents, for those whose children were not vaccinated, to even get them vaccinated. I'm saying this because last year when we were starting the campaign, people were quite apprehensive because in their mind they thought it was a new vaccine we were introducing. But between that time and now, about 1.6 million girls in Ghana have received the vaccine. And I'm not sure any news outlet or media has come to make any noise or say anything about adverse events following the immunization. That was a big concern the last time. So we had a lot of girls who have had the vaccination. We haven't had any serious adverse events occurring. What we've had are mainly the usual pain at the side, abdominal pain, headache, fever, But all those ones were self-limiting, so within 24 hours, everything had resolved. So we've not had any girls first, any adverse events, any immunization. So parents should be rest assured that the health service is poised to give their children quality vaccines that will protect them in the future.
Is this a compulsory exercise, or the consent of parents are being sought before the vaccination or the jabs are given to the girls in the schools you visit?
So,
sorry, Doc, we lost you there. Could you say that again?
In as much as the law in Ghana says that vaccinating the right of the child, however, we don't work like that. We work in concert with the parents. So whatever we do, parents shouldn't abuse us.
I see. How do you hope that the monitoring exercise, what you're doing today, will improve, nationwide vaccination amongst children or young girls within that age group?
Yes. So the national exercise we did, the commemoration we had in Ojekuku, was basically to bring more national level attention. Not just at the national level. In the various districts in the region, other programs are being had. Just that for the whole nation to see that not just the EPI doing something, but the Ghana Health Service, being led by Director General Chapa Korea, have gone out to encourage the public to take the vaccine again. So for us, it's more of high-level visibility as a function of the Africa vaccination.
Here, thank you very much for your time. Dr. Selom Kochuati is with the Ghana Health Service. We'll turn attention away from the vaccines.
Now, the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, NIMOS, has apprehended a foreman of an illegal small-scale mining site at Achimmoso near Dwaso in the Asante Akim South District of the Ashanti region, following a targeted enforcement operation conducted along the Kume River across the lands of Moso, Chichibiase, and Bima. The suspect, identified as Elder David Bobie Peter, disclosed during questioning that he is an elder of the Church of Pentecost branch at Konongo. The operation commenced when the NIMOS task force descended on a sprawling illegal mining enclave at Chichibiase, where several youth were caught actively engaged in mining activities at the time of the surprise raid. The task force pursued the fleeing miners over a considerable distance, but the chase yielded no arrests at that stage, as illegal miners proved to be intimately familiar with the bush paths and escape routes within and around the Galamsey enclave. Notwithstanding the inability to apprehend the fleeing operators, the task force proceeded to dismantle 8 Shangfan machines and 4 wooden gold washing platforms through controlled burning. Several pipe hoses deployed in the illegal mining operation were equally set ablaze, while 12 water pumping machines were seized as exhibits. Now, the Minister of Finance, Dr. Cassiel Atto-Forson, and his deputy, Thomas Nyako Ampim, on Thursday morning filed their 2025 personal income tax returns at the Ghana Revenue Authority head office in Accra. The minister encouraged individuals and business owners to file and pay their taxes on time.
Today, myself and my deputy decided to file our taxes together and to show to the world that we are not only asking others to pay their taxes, but we are also involved in the process of paying taxes and also filing our taxes. The action demonstrates a shared commitment to voluntary tax compliance and good governance. Paying taxes is a civic duty and a cornerstone of the nation's development. Public officials, professionals, businesses, and citizens are equal before the tax laws, and all of us must comply. Nobody is above the tax law. Leading by example helps strengthen public trust in national institutions. And I want to use this opportunity to again encourage everyone all public officials, businesses, individuals, sole proprietors to all get involved in the process of paying your taxes. Compliance is not just a legal obligation, it's a moral responsibility on all of us as Ghanaians. Tax revenue funds essential public services such as education, healthcare, infrastructure, and security. When everyone pays their fair share, the burden is shared and development is accelerated. In fact, we can do better if we pay our taxes and pay it on time.
Minister Dr. Kasia Latoforsin will take us on to our second break for this afternoon. We're back with a bit more for you. Stay with us.
Hundreds of battles fought across the continent by the princes of Europe. But history doesn't care who almost won. It only remembers the name on the field.
Kwabre East Municipality and Dumakwai in the Drabing Municipality of the Ashanti region have staged a protest over the destruction of their farms due to ongoing Kumasi Outer Ring Road construction. The aggrieved farmers say the government's decision to divert a section of the road to accommodate heavy-duty trucks has severely affected their cocoa plantations, which serve as their main source of livelihoods. According to the farmers, the contractor working on the project has over the past 3 months been clearing and degrading portions of their cocoa farms without any form of compensation or prior engagement. They express frustration over what they describe as neglect and unfair treatment, stressing that several acres of cocoa have been destroyed, leaving many families in financial distress.
Yeah, we are the same crowd, and I'm away. Yes, me, mammy, we are away. Paso. The material is the great as in the cocoa and moody. At the media, whom Tiafra, yen as a bar, me buy and para near Duco calling in arm, a bunch of me board, dear me man, be one for me, what dear. Man, Yabako cry, you're doing out to a good. Just a madame, who just has in the swat. Never better great than a crowd family. Yeah, the who I say, machine similar ear, because contractor na wose abanse wonyi kwan ekwan wo yimu san say na die nti no yi kwan no a wose abanse wo twa me ko su afuo no a bepem say na bosom miensani mente hwe tibisna abanse me kokoo no ya waduagu no o metwa me ho ka na munya bi mfa ni die say na no hwe me yire ne me ma ye say mama adwuma ma say mi sisi nyina mitimi ema me mu e say nya na say metuma saye adwuma foforo enti wo gbini nyina wo mo baso wo man kaka safa bia kire yen and one is what we see for your D card. I'm for more. Ye buy a fedia ye to 2 year no ma, ye be one a great day, Biba. Me baba could crowd what the house a great and father so. What are you rubber dinner? See, I was who go now ye pa. Ya do a fool. Ya what was he a fool? Be yan in Yasam Ketua. So by your cocoa, crack, I'm an abba, more to cocono, and ye until one fire can yan and cabra. One fire can yan and cabra. Yania brepa na yakasano. Yania brepa. It is a question, you bet my demonstration at the Tiaba. Demonstration here. Maybe Jao Coco and a mofa. Why am I papa? Why am I Kunu? Why am I? Why am I?
Well, that's our bulletin for you today, which came to you from our studios on the John Hammond Street. I am Mawina.
And I am Kemeni Amano. We are back with a Mayday edition tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.
La